$93,000. That was John's net worth the year he turned 34. Stable engineering job, a house in the suburbs, a 5-year-old SUV parked in the driveway, a wife who worked part-time, 2 kids in school. On paper, John was fine. Better than fine. Actually, he'd tell you himself he was doing pretty well for his age. And yet John hadn't felt a real financial shift, a real change in how money felt in his life in almost 8 years. Same stress, same tight month before payday, same quiet dread every time the car made a weird noise. Nothing had moved. And here's the part that should bother you. John wasn't doing anything wrong. There's a reason for that. And it's not what you think. It's not his income. It's not his spending. It's not some hidden debt he's hiding from his wife. It's something almost nobody explains properly. And once you see it, you cannot unsee it in your own life. Here's what's actually going on. Your financial life doesn't move in a straight line. It moves in stages, 6 of them, to be exact, and each one changes not just how much money you have, but how money feels, how it behaves, and what kind of person you have to become to get through it. Most people never hear this explained clearly, so they think they're failing when really they're just stuck. And stage 3 we'll get there is where the majority of people in their 20s and 30s get permanently trapped without ever realizing it. Stay with me, because by the end of this, you're going to know exactly which stage you're in right now, exactly why it feels the way it does, and exactly what it actually takes to move to the next one. And I promise you, it's not what you've been told. So let's zoom out for a second. Financial psychologists and wealth researchers have mapped this out for years. And even though the labels differ slightly depending on who you ask, the shape is always the same. There are 6 distinct stages people move through with money, and each one has its own emotional weather system. Stage 1 is survival. You're living paycheck to paycheck, and every dollar has a job before it even lands in your account. Stage 2 is stability. You've got a cushion, maybe a small emergency fund, and for the first time breathing feels a little easier. Stage 3 is what I call the plateau, and this is the one that swallows people whole. Stage 4 is acceleration, Stage 5 is freedom, and Stage 6, the one almost nobody reaches, and honestly don't need to reach to be happy, is what's called abundance. Now here's the thing nobody tells you. Moving between these stages isn't about willpower, and it's not really about income either. John, the guy from the top of this video, makes $98,000 a year. That's more than most Americans, and he's still stuck. So clearly income alone isn't the mechanism. There's something else going on. Let's go straight to the stage that matters most, because it's the one you're probably in right now, or terrified of falling into, the plateau. This is the stage where you're not broke, you're not drowning, but you're also not going anywhere. You've got some savings. You've got a job people would call good. You might even have investments, a 401k, maybe a Roth IRA you set up once and forgot about. But your net worth from one year to the next barely moves. It's like being on a staircase that turns into a treadmill right when you think you're finally climbing. Here's the cruel part. The plateau doesn't feel dangerous. That's exactly why it's so effective at trapping people. Survival stage screams at you. You feel the danger every single day. But the plateau whispers. It tells you you're doing fine. Comparatively, it shows you a house, a car, a vacation photo, and says, "See, this is what success looks like." Meanwhile, your actual number, your net worth, the one metric that tells the truth when everything else lies, hasn't moved in years. So how do you actually get stuck there in the first place? It comes down to something called lifestyle creep. But that phrase undersells how sneaky it really is. Every time your income goes up, your stage doesn't automatically go up with it, because your spending quietly rises to swallow the gain before you even notice. Think of it like a bucket with a slow leak. You keep pouring water in raises, bonuses, side income, but the bucket never fills because it's leaking out the bottom just as fast through a slightly nicer apartment, a slightly newer car, one more subscription, one more upgrade that felt totally reasonable in the moment. You're not overspending in any single decision. You're overspending in 1,000 invisible ones. Now let's bring in someone else. Carla, 31, works in marketing, makes about $71,000 a year, noticeably less than John. On paper, she looks like she's behind. But Carla's net worth crossed $140,000 last year. That's not a typo. She makes less than John and has more than John. So what is actually different between them? It's not intelligence. It's not luck. It's the mechanism behind the trap. And this is the part most personal finance content skips over completely. John's money moves horizontally, dollars come in, dollars go out, and the leftover, if there is any, sits in a checking account earning basically nothing. Carla's money moves vertically. A portion of every single dollar that touches her hands gets redirected upward into something that grows on its own before she ever gets the chance to feel it as spendable income. The stages aren't really about how much you earn. They're about which direction your money is allowed to move. And this isn't just a nice story I'm telling you. The Federal Reserve's own survey of consumer finances found that median household net worth jumped 37% between 2019 and 2022, landing at roughly 19.2 the biggest three-year gain the survey has ever recorded. Sounds great on the surface. But dig one layer deeper and the same data shows that growth was wildly uneven, driven mostly by homeowners riding a once-in-a-generation spike in housing and stock prices, not by any actual change in how people were earning or saving. Median income over that same stretch barely moved. So the average American got richer almost by accident, while the underlying habits, the direction their money moves, stayed exactly the same, which means the next few years, when that lucky tailwind isn't there anymore, are going to expose exactly who was actually building wealth on purpose and who was just riding the wave. Financial researcher Thomas Stanley, who spent decades studying actual millionaires rather than people who just look wealthy, found something that should reframe how you think about this entirely. Most self-made wealthy people didn't get there through high income at all. They got there through a boring, repeatable habit of directing money upward before they ever felt its absence. Translate that into years, and it's staggering. A person redirecting even 15% of their income upward from their late 20s can realistically reach the acceleration stage, a full decade before someone earning the same income who never builds that redirect habit, not because they earned more, but because they simply let their money move in a different direction for 10 more years. Okay, before we go further, I want you to actually do something with me, right now, not later. Pull out your phone, open your Notes app, and in the next 30 seconds, add up everything you genuinely own: checking, savings, investments, retirement accounts, the resale value of your car, then subtract everything you owe: credit cards, loans, remaining mortgage. Don't overthink it, just get a rough number. That number, whatever it is the only honest scoreboard in this entire conversation. Your income isn't the scoreboard. Your job title isn't the scoreboard. That number is. And I want you to remember it for the next 60 seconds, because we're about to explain exactly what to do with it. So how do you actually escape the plateau once you're in it? Here's the honest answer, and it's less exciting than you probably want it to be. You don't escape it with a better job, though that helps. You don't escape it with a side hustle, though that can help too. You escape it by reversing the order of operations. Right now, for most people stuck at stage 3, money flows in, bills and lifestyle take their cut, and whatever's left, if anything, gets saved or invested. That's backwards. The people who move through to stage 4 flip that sequence. The investment happens first, automatically, the moment money arrives, and life gets built around whatever's left over. It sounds almost too simple to be the answer, and that's exactly why most people dismiss it and keep looking for something more complicated. But there's an emotional trap layered on top of the mathematical one, and it's honestly the harder one to beat. Being stuck at the plateau doesn't feel like failure because everyone around you is stuck there too. It's an entire social ecosystem built on looking like you've made it while quietly going nowhere. And that's what makes it so much more dangerous than stage 1. Nobody throws you a rope when you're comfortable. The urgency just isn't there until suddenly you're 45, and the math finally catches up to you all at once. So back to John. Here's what changed for him, and it wasn't dramatic. He didn't get a raise. He didn't start a business. He automated 18% of every paycheck into an index fund the day it landed before he ever saw it in his checking account, and he left it alone. 18 months later, for the first time in 8 years, his net worth had actually moved, not because anything about his income changed, but because the direction of his money changed. That's the whole secret, and it's almost annoyingly unglamorous. It's not a money problem. It's a patience problem, dressed up to look like a money problem. So here's the one question I want you to sit with after this video ends. Is my real problem actually how much I make, or is it simply which direction my money is allowed to move? Be honest with that number you wrote down earlier. It'll tell you exactly which of the 6 stages you're actually in, whether you like the answer or not. If this kind of breakdown is useful to you, the stuff nobody explains clearly until it's almost too late, that's genuinely the whole reason this channel exists. Subscribe if you want the next one, because we're going deeper into stage 4 next, and it changes everything again.